What if I told you that being alone at 80 isn't a sign of loneliness, but a sign of wisdom? Yes, wisdom. In a world that's getting faster, more crowded, more noisy, there are some 80-year-olds who actually choose to sit quietly, enjoying the quiet morning, gazing at the evening sky peacefully, and they don't feel empty. They feel enough. Imagine an old tree standing strong. It's no longer growing tall quickly, but its roots are deep. Its shade is calming. Its presence is calming. That's what many hearts are like at 80. Not noisy, not rushed, but full of meaning. In this video, we'll see something different. That being alone doesn't mean withdrawing from the world. Sometimes, it means finally understanding the world. That no longer chasing the crowds doesn't mean losing value. That sitting quietly with a warm cup of tea can be the most precious moment of the day. If you're 80, or approaching that age, and you find yourself more comfortable in stillness, perhaps you're not becoming weaker, perhaps you're becoming deeper, calmer, more selective, more grateful. This isn't about the end of the journey. It's about seeing the journey with softer eyes, and perhaps, after watching this, you'll smile and say to yourself, I'm not lonely, I'm just wise. Let's walk together in this warm message. Because turning 80 isn't about disappearing, it's about shining with a softer light. Have you ever sat alone, in a chair by the window, watching the morning sun slowly filter in? No television, no lively conversation, just you, and a soft silence. Then someone asks, are you lonely? And you might smile a little. Because deep down, you don't feel lonely, you feel calm. Today I want to tell you something you may not have heard often. If you're 80 and enjoying your alone time, that's not weakness. It's a sign of wisdom. Imagine a magnificent old library. Inside are thousands of books. Calm, silent, peaceful. Is the library empty because it's quiet? No, it's quiet because it's full of value. So are you. At 80, you are a library of life, full of experiences, full of stories, full of lessons. And today we'll discuss 6 important facts about why being alone at this age can be a sign of profound wisdom. But before we get into the meat of the matter, if you find content like this calming and inspiring, please support this channel by hitting the subscribe and like buttons. Your support helps us continue to bring warm messages to seniors around the world. Thank you. Now let's get to the meat of the matter. When you're young, life is like a big city. Lots of lights, lots of noise, lots of desires. People want to be known. They want to be busy. They want to seem important. But after 80 years of life, you start to realize something simple. Not every voice needs to be heard. Not every invitation needs to be attended. Not every argument needs to be won. Imagine you've ever been at a very crowded party. The music is loud. People are talking all at once. It's hard to hear your own thoughts. Then you step outside for a moment. Stand in a quiet park outside the building. Suddenly, you can breathe a sigh of relief. That's what happens to many wise people in their 80s. They don't hate other people. They simply prefer a quiet park to a loud party. And that's not antisocial behavior. It's a sign that you know what brings peace to your soul. Peace becomes more valuable than popularity. At 80, you've been through many seasons of life. Seasons of love, seasons of loss, seasons of economic struggle, seasons of health ups and downs, seasons of world change. You've seen technology change, culture change, generations change. And in all those changes, you remain, like a mountain that stands strong despite changing weather. People who don't know themselves are often afraid of being alone. Because when silence comes, their minds become too crowded. But you've made peace with many things. There may be small regrets. There may be memories that bring tears to your eyes. But you know one important thing. Life isn't perfect. And that's okay. Being alone for you isn't an empty space. It's a space for reflection. Like sitting by a calm lake. Watching the sky's reflection in the water, you look at the past. Without anger, without denial, only acceptance. and acceptance is the highest form of wisdom. Imagine you sitting on a wooden chair on a porch. The afternoon breeze is gentle. The sky is slowly changing colors. There's nothing to prove. Nothing to pursue. Just enough. Enough. Two words so rare in the modern world, but often found in the hearts of people who have lived to be 80. At 30, people worry about what others think of them. At 50, people start to care less. At 80, sometimes we don't even remember who to care about. And that's beautiful, because your energy is now more selective. You no longer waste it on small things. You're like someone carrying a precious battery. You don't want to use it on unimportant noise. That's not selfish. That's wise. Emotional affirmation if you often choose to sit quietly rather than attend a crowded event. If you enjoy a book, prayer, meditation, or just your own thoughts. If you find peace when alone, hear this clearly. You are not falling behind. You are not losing value. You are not disappearing. You are entering a deeper phase of life. A phase where quality is more important than quantity. Meaning is more important than noise. Depth is more important than the spotlight. And that is a truly glorious phase. The 80th chapter of life is not about dimming the light. Instead, it is a softer, warmer, and wiser light. Next, we'll discuss the inner strength born of serenity, and how being alone at 80 actually makes your heart stronger and more selective in how you give energy. Have you ever watched the ocean? On the surface, the waves can seem strong and noisy. But the deeper you dive, the quieter, the calmer, the more stable. The question now is strength always visible on the outside? Or is it hidden in the depths? At 80, many people begin to live like the deep sea. Calm on the surface, not talking much, not showing off much. But underneath, there's incredible depth. If you enjoy being alone, it's not because you're weak, but perhaps because you've become that deep sea. In youth, emotions are often like tropical weather. Sunny for a while, then a storm comes suddenly. A small comment can be painful. A difference of opinion can feel like a major threat. But after 80 years of life, you've weathered many storms. Loss of loved ones. Health changes. Times change. The world changes. And you're still standing. Like an old tree that's been buffeted by the wind 1,000 times. Your roots have deepened. Now, when something small happens, you're no longer easily swayed. Someone says something unpleasant. You smile and let it pass. Someone disagrees. You don't feel the need to win everything. Why? Because you know, life is too precious to waste on petty conflicts. Being alone gives you space to maintain emotional stability. Space to breathe before reacting. Space to choose calm. And that is strength. Not physical strength, but inner strength. And inner strength is the kind of strength that lasts the longest. Imagine a small candle in a dark room. If the wind is too strong, the flame can easily go out. But if the room is quiet, the flame can burn steadily and warmly. For many people in their 80s, being alone is a way to protect the little flame within their hearts. Fire is stillness. Fire is wisdom. Fire is quiet love. And keeping that fire steady is a very wise act. There's a big difference between being closed off and being selective. Being closed off means rejecting everyone. Being selective means choosing consciously. At 80, you begin to understand that energy is a precious treasure. Like a phone battery that's no longer 100% charged. You don't want to use it for unnecessary applications. You used to be able to attend 3 events in one day. Now, one event is enough, and afterward, you need a comfortable chair and a cup of tea. And that's okay. That's not weakness. That's wisdom in managing your energy. You may not have many close friends anymore, but the ones you do have are truly sincere. You may not speak at length, but when you do, your words carry weight. Like gold, it doesn't sparkle much, but is of great value. Being alone helps you refine your relationships. Not to withdraw from the world, but to draw closer to quality. Less, but deeper. Quieter, but more meaningful. Gently ask yourself, am I truly lonely? Or am I simply enjoying the peace? Many people fear being alone because they haven't learned to be at peace with themselves. But you've come a long way. 8 decades of life is no small amount of time. If you can sit alone and feel at peace, that's not emptiness. That's maturity. Next, we'll discuss how being alone at 80 actually deepens your gratitude and makes life feel more meaningful than ever. If someone gives you a quiet day, no schedule, no demands, no noise, is that a gift or loneliness? The answer often depends on how we look at it. At 80, many people begin to realize that life is no longer about how fast we move, but about how deeply we feel. Imagine a cup of hot tea. If you drink it hastily, it tastes ordinary, but if you savor it slowly, every aroma is richer. So it is with life. Being alone gives you time to slowly sip life. And that's where wisdom grows. When we're young, we often focus on what we don't have. A career we haven't achieved. A house we want to be bigger. A trip we haven't taken. But after 80 years of life, perspective changes. You start to see life like an old photo album. There are childhood pictures. There are family photos. There are simple moments that once might have seemed ordinary, but now feel so precious. Being alone gives you the space to quietly open that album. Not to regret, but to be grateful. To be grateful for having loved. To be grateful for having tried. To be grateful for having endured. Imagine standing on a hilltop at sunset. You're no longer rushing to climb. You just stand and look back, and you realize the journey was long. And I've been there. That's a deep gratitude, not a loud, dramatic gratitude, but a quiet gratitude, and that calm often comes from time alone. Being alone doesn't mean being empty. It gives you space. Space to remember. Space to appreciate. Space to silently say, thank you, life. At a young age, life is full of activity. A packed agenda, many goals, endless meetings, but at 80, the question changes. It's no longer, what else should I do? It's, what's truly meaningful? Being alone helps you hear the most important voice, your inner voice. Like an old radio that has to be tuned slowly to find the right frequency. If there's too much noise, we can't hear clearly, but when there's quiet, that frequency becomes clear. Many people in their 80s begin to discover a deeper spiritual closeness. More reflection, more prayer, more moments of silence that feel sacred. Not out of fear, but out of awareness. Awareness that life is a precious journey. Awareness that every breath is a gift. Awareness that meaning isn't always found in the crowd. Sometimes meaning is born in silence. Imagine walking slowly in a park in the morning. The leaves are moving slowly. The air is cool. Your steps are unhurried. You don't have to get anywhere. You just walk and feel. That's life at 80, wise. It's no longer about the distant goal. It's about enjoying the small steps. If you often choose to sit quietly rather than attend a crowd. If you enjoy short but meaningful conversations. If you feel closer to the value of life when you're alone. Perhaps you're not withdrawing from the world. Perhaps you're approaching the essence of life itself. And that's not the end of the journey. It's the depth. Remember, your silence may be the most beautiful form of wisdom. Next, we'll talk about the big picture, why being alone at 80 isn't a sign of decline, but of inner evolution and a mature life experience. If sunrises are strong and bright, then sunsets are soft and warm. Is dusk weaker than morning? No, dusk has a different beauty. At 80, your life is no longer an ambitious morning. It's not a busy, hot afternoon. It's a colorful dusk. And interestingly, many people who enjoy sunsets most choose to sit quietly and watch them. Not running, not screaming, just being present. Being alone at 80 is often not about escaping the world, but about finally understanding it, putting all the facts together. Let's look at the big picture again. You're no longer chasing the noise. You know yourself better. You're emotionally stronger. You're more selective with your energy. You're more grateful. You're more connected to the meaning of life. If all of this is the result of 80 years, Why should solitude be considered a negative? Imagine a musical maestro who has played thousands of concerts. Eventually, he might enjoy playing one quiet song in a small room, rather than a large stage with bright spotlights. Is that a decline? No, that's an elegant simplification. Evolution, not decline. In nature, evolution doesn't always mean getting bigger or faster. Sometimes evolution means becoming more efficient, more calm, more balanced. At 80, you may not move as fast as you used to, but your wisdom runs deeper. You may not speak as much, but your words carry more weight. You may not attend as many meetings, but your presence feels more genuine. Being alone is part of this evolution. Like a river that, after a long journey, finally reaches the sea. It is no longer turbulent. It is unified. It is vast. It is calm. If you used to have a long to-do list every day, now maybe that list is shorter, and that's beautiful. You might have said, I don't have time to sit still. Now you might say, finally I have time to sit in peace. And that peace feels like a gift. Not a big gift with ribbons and boxes, but a simple gift, time to breathe without rushing. To you who are 80, don't ever feel like you're disappearing. You're changing, and this change isn't about losing value. It's about finding your essence. The world may move faster every year. Technology changes, lifestyles change, but one thing remains constant: the value of wisdom, and wisdom often grows in silence. If you can sit alone and feel whole, that's an achievement not everyone has. If you can accept the past without resentment, that's a tremendous power. If you can enjoy a simple day without feeling like you're lacking, that's a sign of true maturity. Imagine sitting in your favorite chair in the afternoon. The sun's rays are slowly streaming in. The air is calm. Your heart feels light. There's nothing to prove. There's nothing to chase. Just a sense of presence. And in that presence, there's wisdom. In that stillness, there's strength. In that solitude, there's peace. If you're 80 and enjoy being alone, you're not isolated. You're not left behind. You're someone who's come a long way. Someone who's learned a lot. Someone who now chooses to live with depth. And that's something to be honored. Remember, your silence isn't emptiness. It's a space filled with meaning. And perhaps, at 80, the greatest wisdom isn't about talking more, but about being enough, in silence. Before you close this video, listen to this one sentence slowly. You are precious, even in your silence, in a world that is accelerating. In a world full of noise, news, and change, your quiet presence is a rare thing. You have lived 80 years, 8 decades of experience, 8 decades of stories, 8 decades of lessons. That's not a short time. You've probably seen the world change many times. Technology changes, the way people talk changes, the way we live changes. But one thing remains the same: the human heart still seeks peace. And if today you find peace in solitude, that is a gift. Imagine life like a long train journey. At the beginning of the journey, passengers get on and off quickly. The atmosphere is bustling. There is a lot of conversation. But as the journey draws to a close, the atmosphere becomes quieter. You sit by the window, gazing out at the view with gratitude. Not because the journey is nearing its end, but because you realize the journey is beautiful. Every laugh, every tear, every success, every loss. It all shapes you. And now, you have nothing to prove anymore. You don't have to be faster. You don't have to be harder. You don't have to be busier. You can simply be you. And that's enough. If you're sitting alone at home today, remember, you're not truly alone. There are people around the world, the same age, who are also sitting quietly, who are also reflecting, who are also grateful. You're part of a strong generation. A generation that builds, endures, and gives. And the world is what it is today because of the contributions of people like you. Thank you for coming this far. Thank you for staying strong. Thank you for being an example of serenity. If this message touched your heart, please help spread this warmth. Hit the like button. Share this video with friends and family. Subscribe to this channel so we can continue walking together. Turn on the notification bell so you don't miss the next message. And leave a simple comment below, maybe just one word, peace, or gratitude. We read and appreciate every message you send. Finally, may your night be peaceful. May your heart be light. May tomorrow come with a soft light. And always remember, even in silence, your life still has meaning. Until we meet again.